Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another session on the Big Dude channel. Okay, and this is hereby my debut video on the Big Dude Talks. As today I'll be bringing on the subject on nepotism. So, as we can see in today's world, in the year 2020, the term nepotism has become more popular than ever in certain situations that have occurred in this latest times, which is the most common and the most popular situation that happened that brought up this word nepotism is due to the unfortunate demise of the Bollywood's most popular actor, Sushant Singh Rajput's demise, and the term of nepotism has been scattering all around the world on the question that did Sushant Singh's death was related to nepotism. Was there any favoritism behind his death? Was there a bias going on between the cinemas of Bollywood, the Bollywood cinema? So before that, I would like to go into this few basics and a few cases on about nepotism, so as we can give ourselves our own topic and discussion about nepotism in today's modern world. Let's get going. So firstly, let's go on to the definition of nepotism. If some of you people, fellow people who do not know what the true meaning of nepotism is, okay, it's defined as the practice among people with power or authority to favor their friends or family by giving them jobs or tasks in a biased way. In a very short way to say that you are giving a job that is too much, or like in a way of too much in terms of money, in terms of authority, to a person that you like, and instead of not giving it to the person who rightfully deserves it. So, do you guys find it usual, similar? Well, drop down in the comments below if you have faced this kind of situations before. So let's start on with the nepotism that happens in our religious cults, or you can say religious organizations. So, for instance, this is one case where Pope Calixius III, nice, who was the head of the Borgia family, and he made two of his nephews as cardinals. So you can see the amount of nepotism over here himself. Two of his nephews who were supposed to be relatives, and they are cardinals. And one of them, whose name is Rodrigo, used his position as a cardinal and as a stepping stone to the papacy, becoming the Pope Alexander VI. So then Alexander himself, he elevated Alessandro Farnese, his mistress's brother, that's another nepotism, to cardinal himself. And Farnese would later go on to become Pope Paul III. Nepotism, wow. And Paul III, he was a notorious, and he was like a big time of a nepotist. And when he was elected Pope in the year 1543, he again appointed two of his nephews who were literally teenagers. One was about 16, the other was 14 years old. They were minors, and they are cardinals who are literally going to be like a leader, in the city, in the Vatican City. Man, so that's how nepotism has been creating havoc back in even hundreds of years ago. However, thank God, the practice was finally ended when Pope Innocent X11, Pope Innocent the 12th, he issued the bull Romantium Decet Pontificium. I don't know, I hope I'm correct. That which was in 1692, that the papal bull prohibited the popes in all times from bestowing estates or in revenues and offices or any relative, with the exception that one is a qualified relative could be made cardinal. That's the first example that we had back over hundreds of years ago. It was literally nepotism written everywhere. Secondly, nepotism has been quite of a common when it comes to government schools. This is one issue that I got it from The Age, that the principal in the government schools have failed to heed warnings of dangers of nepotism and continue to employ their partners and children in paid work without declaring conflict of interest. The Victoria's Ombudsman, that is Miss Deborah Glass, who gave the statement. Miss Glass, she said, complaints about nepotism in schools continue unabated. Troublingly, many investigations continue to find that jobs and contracts are given to the family members, associates, or related businesses or principals, or other senior school staffs without their conflicts of interest being declared or managed. From the first case that was investigated by the Ombudsman, a principal hired a company owned by their partners to perform school maintenance by paying almost $80,000 in cash. If you take your own pocket money and pay it, that's a completely different thing. But this is literally government's money. This is government school, and the government's money. You're paying $80,000 in their favor, which happened this for 5 years between November 2014 until November 2019. But when they were interviewed by the ombudsman, the principal said that their partner initially they did maintenance work as volunteers because the grounds were neglected. I mean, so it's up to you guys to see that if it's completely of bullcrap or maybe the principal is telling his truth. But he declared a conflict of interest only once when the investigators contacted them about the allegations. So literally, like when you get in trouble, like, oh my god, I gotta do something right. As you can see from here itself, that how the power of nepotism is indulging everyone. You can literally feel that the ones who literally deserve their ranks, are being mistreated by this kind of people who use nepotism as a weapon against the ones who deserve it. And yeah, okay, and even though Ms. Glass herself has said they were not cases of corrupt staff deliberately disregarding their obligations as public officers, but mostly these subjects and allegations were well intentioned for busy people trying to solve their problems who got it wrong. Very wrong. There was another case, by the way, that was found in the AMP News, which was published in 2019, 22nd October, by the way. A senior defense bureaucrat was accused of nepotism for over lucrative $400,000 contract. Man, wow. So this was confirmed because the senior bureaucrat officer who awarded $400,000 of contract to an IT company where his son used to work, bypassing the usual practices of putting the work out to a competitive tender. So based on the cases, the key points were the defense admits to giving a contract to a company where the senior officials relatively worked. The department completed a limited tender rather than advertising for competitive tender. So it means like this is all like a personal use, like, hey, I like you. You want to work for me? Yeah. So that's what literally like a limited tender is. And thus it insists it followed the procurement rules in awarding almost $400,000 in contract. Actually, and as we can see, the defense of the bureaucrat, he gave quite a lot of defense to it, but however, none of the work. I'll skip that part now. Say that it has been declared the conflict of interest has been shown in this case, and it's clearly shown that there was a sign of nepotism and in breach of the department's procurement guidelines that we show. If you think in the mindset of a person who started from scratch, who studied or who worked his way on top, who spent day and nights, crazy nights, trying to strive for his success, and suddenly you get to work on a guy who's bigger than you, who's like your boss, and that boss is being such a filthy guy, and then he eyes his own door and sound like, hey, this is the best thing in the world. While the guy who strived for this business, that best thing was literally in front of his eyes, and he did not acknowledge that. What are the consequences? What are the bad effects that would happen if you bring in nepotism to your workplace? First of all, you'll get a risk of legal action. So like the companies who practice nepotism could be the risk of being sued, even though if it's unintentional nepotism. If it's proven that there is nepotism in your doings, you could be sued to pay a fine or to even a legal risk of going to jail. Would be caught up if it shows favoritism in terms of benefits, in terms of salary, in terms of authority and like promotions, and neglecting other employees in the process. Secondly, this is something that affects mentally lower of the employees' morale. When you strive yourself to work in the company, that's because that you want to shine. You want to make yourself in the top of the building. You want people to recognize you as you are the, hey, he's the guy that works so hard, man. But instead, he worked his ass off. Sorry for that word. Instead, he worked himself off, and suddenly the boss he brings a new guy that's like literally his son or his someone close to him, and he says like, okay, this guy is the boss. This guy works hard, man, and he's literally like shaking his legs. For a guy who worked hard, he'll be literally doomed. Like he'll be dead inside because he'll be thinking to himself like, I worked so hard, and that guy just took all my seat. It also will brings bad sales. So in the end, it's a loss to the company itself. And the third one, this is might be good news for the employees by the way. It's the risk of family feuds. So as you can, if you can say that if you try to even hire one of your child or one of your relative into your company, giving a higher task job, and a couple of months later you see another relative who's applying to you, and he's like, hey, can I get that boss seat of yours? You know, you give it to you give it to my stinky cousin over there. Why don't you give it to me? And the boss will be like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? Well, actually, I would consider like, oh no, you don't, because he got the job. Why am I not? So that is a risk of a family feud because of nepotism. I can say the employees can just sit back and enjoy the feud. The third one is that the employer will lose his status as an ethical decision maker and be accused of favoritism. So in this case, like definitely it would not be nice for an employer to be called as a guy who likes to, I mean, in a much more informal way, like lifting the balls of the guys he like. That's how you call it. So this is how favoritism is. They will tend to they'll tend to go beyond the company rules in order to help, in order to provide or give the benefits to their favorite employee. So I would not like to talk too much about Sushant Singh Rajput's death, is because there's no documented confirmation, as it's right now has only been a big debate about either his untimely passing has been regarded or has been due to the nepotism that has been encouraged in the Bollywood cinema. In whole, I would like to say that before Sushant Singh's death, he already made a post prior about nepotism literally 5 years ago. It's a quote from the sociology professor Larry Kirsten on nepotism. We promote family values here almost as often as we promote our family members. Larry Kirsten on hashtag nepotism, hashtag Bollywood. Does he give a hint that for the likes of him, for a guy who has like literally started from down from scratch to make his way on top to the ranks of Bollywood cinema, and he's been stopped or he's been like barricaded by the senior artists? So could this be an answer? Well, we'll see that in the future news. And from Sushant Singh's death that occurred, his brother-in-law developed a new app called the Nepo meter. Wow. That's literally, it provides ratings for films based on how nepotistic or independent the movie crew is. Because when the Nepo meter is high, it's time to boycott Bollywood. Will you watch this movie? Tell in the comments. I would say no. Because in terms of nepotism, this is literally ruining the chances of people who are indeed capable but who have not reached the limelight. I could say that let's boycott or probably until we get a fine answer, we get a clear answer of what is happening. I will pray for all the victims and for everyone who has went through with nepotism, who's been a victim of nepotism, to get a clear end, a good and positive end in their way. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my Big Dude Talks review. Hereby we conclude the video. So, if you like the video or if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to lay down the comments below. And if you like it, just subscribe to the channel. And feel free to comment on what topic would you want me to talk about next. And I'll see you again with more Big Dude contents from the Big Dude Talks. No nepotism.
forget about